Haters, y'all. They some haters, y'all. They took us off the airwaves, man. They took us off the airwaves, man. They some haters, y'all. They saw that King Cash and King Willow was cooking us some fire. They ain't know what to do with us. They ain't know what to do with us at that point, man. Listen, man. Like that's why I keep saying, man, we gotta dodge the hijack. Like my bro said, dodge the hijack. And my bro Cootie Mayo be saying, dodge the hijack. We got to stay in tune with true history. True history because they trying to block us out, man. They trying to block us out. But it's all right, though, because we going to keep this bad boy going, man. Like we was talking about, bro. You guys, man, for those who tuned in tonight, it's late. It's 1 a.m. So I appreciate y'all 10 times for this one. We finna go crazy. This about to be a banger. This about to be a banger. We about to amp it up just a little bit more for them, bro. Amp it up a little bit more. I had the bro on. He was doing his little breakdown for y'all to give y'all a better understanding, pretty much what was going on. Giving y'all a historical breakdown behind the ancient Israelites in the book of Ezra. Right? We went over the KGV, the charts, the family trees, the Shemitic bloodline, the Japhetic bloodline, the Hamitic bloodline, and what all of this has to do with the lost tribes in general, right? Just everything this just has to do with the lost tribes, right? So, with that being said, man, we're gonna jump right back into this bad boy. We're gonna go back into the discourse. Into the discourse. We're gonna jump back into the discourse of the ancient Aboriginals and their connections to the lost tribes. All right, let's pull this bad boy up. What I got for y'all, man. What I got for y'all. Like I said, oh, man, let's do it. Here we are. We in the book. A discourse on the evidence of the American Indians and the lost tribes of Israel. 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 Yeah, man, this one about to be a goodie. We finna go crazy with this one, man. This book was published in 1837, like I said. 1837, that's a long time ago. So they telling us that in 1837, these dudes was drawing connections between the ancient Aboriginals and the 12 lost tribes of Israel in 1837. So one thing we could connect with for sure, this ain't new. This ain't no new information, right? This ain't no new, right? This is all old historical information. Old historical information, things that we could get in tune with that we have to do even more research on, right? Let's continue though. So let's see what the brother got to say in this book, man, and how many different connections they want to make. So what it says, an earthquake may shake and overturn the foundations of the city. The avalanche may overwhelm the hamlet, and the crater of a volcano may pour its lava over fertile plains and populous villages. But a whole nation cannot vanish from the sight of the world without leaving some traces of its existence, some marks of its habits and customs, right? Like I said in the first one, man, some traces of their existence, some marks of their habits and customs, traces of their existence. What would you call this, right? These Hebraic scripts. What would we call these? These are traces of their existence. Traces of their existence. It's just so funny how they mentioned that, and we got these to pull up, right? Tap in, man. Tap in. We need y'all to tap in. Copper Color King going crazy. Right. So what else we got? It says, it is a singular fact. By the way, y'all, those things are those two items I just pulled up. Los Lunas Decalogue Stone, Bat Creek Stone, both found over here in America. These are Hebraic scripts. Hebraic script, like I explained in the first part one of this episode, right? Of this live stream. Make sure I go check it out before they took us off the airwaves, man. But it say though, it is a singular fact that history is exceedingly confused, or rather I may say dark, respecting the ultimate disposition of the tribes among the cities of the Medes. Medes being another tribe, being another one of these tribes. Let's check it out. Where are the Medes? Who are the Medes? It sounds so weird saying that. The Medes. Who are the Medes? Let's get a look at who these Medes are. I'm just trying to go back into the chart for you guys so that we got an understanding of where these Medes come from. Where do these Medes come from? Let's check it out. The tribe of Medes. Let's try to find it. Definitely one of the tribes. Could it be of Japheth? Could it be of Ham? Right? Multiple different. Look at these family trees, y'all. So many different people. Golly. You know, Ham, the progenitor of the Ethiopians and the Egyptians. Oh, big drop. Big drop. Well, more or less, man. I'll show y'all the Medes part once I find it. Let's continue. Let's move forward into the book. The last notice we have of them is from the second book of Esdras. What is the book of Esdras? The book of Esdras. Okay, the book of Esdras, better known as the book of Ezra. The book of Esdras is better known as the book of Ezra. And what is the book of Ezra? The book of Ezra is a book of the Hebrew Bible, which formerly included the book of Nehemiah, in a single book commonly distinguished in scholarship as Ezra, Nehemiah. The two became separated with the first printed rabbinic Bibles of the early 16th century following the late medieval Latin Christian tradition. So these books got separated, or the scholars or whatever got separated. The books got separated around the same time where maybe the Holy Roman Empire, or, you know, as we see here, Latin Christian tradition, we already know where that comes from. We're starting to make its rise in Europe, separating them, thus birthing two forms of the book. But we know they come from Hebrews. Comes from Hebrews. So what do they say about the book of Esdras? Check it out. Let's go back into the article. It says, the last notice we have of the Hebrews is from the second book of Esdras, which runs thus: whereas thou sawest another peaceable multitude, these are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Oshea, whom Shalmaneser, king of Assyria. So Assyria, the king of Assyria. What do we know about the Assyrians, right? Let me just show y'all this real quick. What do we know about the Assyrians? The Assyrians were also Shemitic. So these Assyrians chased out these Hebrew, Abraham Israelites out of their land, right? But they're both Shemitic. That's crazy, right? Tribe on tribe warfare. That's tribe on tribe warfare. Put the guns down. They ain't know how to put the guns down. Everybody want to fight. It's time to make peace. That's what the tribes wanted. That was the objective. That was the goal, to keep peace and live in holy matrimony, live in harmony. And that's a lot, it's a lot similar to how a lot of the tribes over here in America wanted to live their lives prior to the conquest of the European, of the colonizers, prior to their conquest, right? Remember, they opened their arms to a lot of these colonizers. Like, yeah, pull up, come through, come tap in with us on the land. They were true peaceful characters until they felt threatened. They moved with peace and love, right? We're gonna talk about a lot of that stuff too. I learned that myself from a lot of the history books that I've been reading regarding several of these different tribes. They say that they were savages and they lived like animals, whatever the case may be, but that's not entirely true. It's not entirely true at all. As a matter of fact, they actually catered to their communities. They lived abundantly. They lived with love. They showed love to one another. It's Turtle Island, baby. Right? Ancient America, the true old world. Right? We drawing the connections with the Israelites and the ancient Aboriginals of America. Right? So let's continue. Where we at with it? You guys. All right, we back in the book where we was at. Yeah, so King of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters. So they came unto another land. They took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go into a further country wherein never mankind dwelt. Never mankind dwelt. They were trying to get away from mankind. The ancient Hebrews and Israelites were trying to escape from mankind. Why is this important? Right? So there's one thing that I learned about man and mankind from this little BS evolution theory that they taught us in high school, right? And one thing I learned about man and mankind is that it's a distinct difference between the two groups, right? We, us copper-colored peoples, at this point, we're mixed into the core, but we are mankind. I mean, we are man, right? This would be us, humans. Humans. Man, we're not primates. No, we're not primates. It's different. We are humans, right? Man, created from Adam and Eve, right? Man. Mankind would be these people right here, Homo Neanderthals. And according to the 1611 KGB, right, like I said, we know Japhet to be the progenitor of the Caucasian or lighter skinned races, right? Shem being the progenitor of the Negroes, also being the progenitor of Eber being the progenitor of Abraham being the progenitor of the Israelites. And then we know with Ham, he's the progenitor of Cush, Put, Canaan, and Mizraim, Ethiopians and Egyptians, right? That's where you got Nimrod, right? And then there's more. There's Nebuchadnezzar, right? There's more that a lot of us that we heard of, that you probably read about. right? Goliath, right? A lot. Giant, a lot. He being the progenitor of the darker skin races. You see with ancient Ethiopians, Egyptians, Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Sidonians. What these people looks like, those people, darker skinned people, most of those people from coming out of those lands. Moral of the story, when they talking about getting away from mankind, they're getting away from any individual who may be, oh look, there you go, guys, Medes. There go Medes. There's a tribe of Japhet, right? A tribe of Japhet. But getting away from mankind is technically like saying getting away from anyone who isn't of the true man, right? And according to Bible, Shem, progenitor of the Negroes, progenitor of the red men, the etymology of Adam, meaning red man, man of earth, right? A colored person, a copper colored person, so to say. And I'm not like a full blown Bible person, right? I'm not like a full blown Bible person. So I can't even sit here and give this breakdown on the Bible 100% like that. What I can say is this. Let's finish reading this damn book, right? Because we about to read some stuff that's about to put a lot of this stuff into perspective, right? So let's go back to the article. To where we at. So what it says, all right, so they wanted to leave the multitude of the heathen, the pagan, the sun worshiper, and go into a further country wherein never mankind dwelt. Mankind did not dwell there, only man. That they might be there, keep their statutes, where they never kept in their own land, Assyria, making the claim that they come from Assyria, when there's a chance they could have came here from America. Like I said, ancient America, the truer world. How would we explain these? There's no explaining this stuff, right? You're not going to sit here and say they came over here on a boat and then brought all this stuff and then left it. It was like, oh, okay, we're going to leave it here now. Impossible, right? Impossible. Right, but let's continue. Ezra, however, has been deemed apocryphal. Much has been said concerning the doubtful character of that writer. He wrote in the first century of the Christian church, and the Tertullian, St. Irenaeus, Clemens Exandrius, Pico de Mandrola, and many learned and pious men had great confidence in his writing. So this dude, or the book of Ezra, right, was held, on a high standard. It was like a high standard. Like this is a book that most people would look up to, assuming that that's what they mean in this part right here, right? Part of these things have been adopted by the Protestants. Protestants, who are the Protestants? Well, the Protestants are the Muslims and the Jews who were forced to convert. Protestant just means to protest. It means to protest, and they called them Orthodox because they were practicing still and living by the true laws of life, not fully converting into Christian or Catholic ways, still protesting against the evil and basking in the greatness, the good things that their people do and have been doing for some time. Let me get back to this article for y'all. All right, so where we at? Oh yeah, it's considered orthodox by Catholics. With all his old Jewish attachments to the prophecies and traditions, Esdras was nevertheless a convert to Christianity. He was not an inspired writer or prophet, although he assumed to be one. And followed by the course as well as the manner of Daniel, the book of Esdras, however, is of great antiquity, and as an historical record is doubtless entitled to great respect. Is a book of great antiquity. great historical book, right? And like I said, the book of Ezra, is a Hebrew text. It is a Hebrew text. And saying it's of great antiquity, right? The precise number which left Babylon and other cities and took to the desert cannot be accurately known, but they were exceedingly numerous. For the edict of Asherus, which decreed the destruction of the Hebrew Israelites, embraced 127 provinces and reached from Ethiopia to the Indies. Benjamin of Tudela, who traveled in the 11th century through Persia, mentions that in some of the provinces at the time of that decree, the Jews occupied 40 cities, 200 large boroughs, 100 castles, which contained 300,000 people. I incline to the opinion that 300,000 of the tribes left Persia. There's no doubt in the march from the Euphrates to the north coast of Asia, many of the tribes hesitated in pursuing the journey. Some remained in Tartary. Many went into China. And this is so crazy too, because if you checked out my History of the Choctaw Chickasaw and Natchez book, a lot of these migration stories for the southeastern tribes got them coming from the East Asia, Asiatic Negroes coming from the east and migrating to Central America, and then from Central America coming here to North America, right? Go check it out. So them saying that they found homes in Tartary and China, there's no coincidence, right? There was black people in Tartary, there's black people in China. Historically, it's been like that for thousands and thousands of years. And I got a book on the history of Tartary and what the different peoples in that land would have looked like. And it states that a lot of them were swarthy. Where can this swarthiness or copper color skin complexion come from? Who's their descendants? Who's the mothers and fathers and grandfathers and grandmothers of that land who passed down the skin color to them? If they weren't Shemitic, they had to be Hamitic in terms of the Bible, right? In those terms, right? In terms of the progenitors. And if they are Shemitic, right? Like they do come from the Israelites or the tribes of Eber or Abraham, then that would make sense connecting them to the Aboriginals here in America, right? If the migration stories got them coming from the east, it would make sense. But this is why we got to do the research. I'm not going to sit here and say that our ancestors are Chinese. No way in hell I'm going to say that. No way. These are ancestors, man. These are ancestors. We got to pay some respect. It's all about respect with these folks at the end of the day. We got to show some respect. Ain't no way in hell I'm saying they Chinese. It ain't even like that. It ain't even like that. Not even close. You dig? Copper color soul, man. Copper color love. Right? But yeah, man, what it say? It say that the Jews were living in China for more than 600 years, and greater probability maybe for even 1600 years. He speaks of there being very numerous in some of the provinces and having synagogues in many of the great cities, especially in that of Henan and in its metropolis of Kong-To-Fu. Saying that Kong-To-Fu is a metropolis. I never heard of Kong-To-Fu. Never heard of it. Kai Tong-Fu. Never heard of that. But if it was a metropolis, then it must have been a pretty big and beautiful city. Right? It says where he represents them to have a magnificent place of worship and a repository for the holy value, adorned with richly embroidered curtains, in which they preserve an ancient Hebrew manuscript roll. Okay, making a claim that these folks left some more things of antiquity that show that their presence were there, that they were there. It's just like with the Los Lunas Decalogue stone, the Commandment stone, Commandment rock, or like the Back Creek stone, leaving these things behind. Right? They're leaving these things behind. They did this in China. All right. You see? All right, let's move forward. They know but little of the Mosaic law and only repeat the names of David, Abraham, Isaiah, and Jacob, right? Abraham being the father of the Israelites, right? This is where the Israelites come from. In a Hebrew letter written by the Jews of Cochin, and real quick, let's look at these Cochin Jews, right? Let's just look at these Cochin Jews. If they are Semitic, have a look at them, right? Hold on, yeah, this one right here is this is a real one, man. This is a real one. This one had me like, oh wow, these Cochin Jews, copper colored peoples. She looks Dravidian. She looks Dravidian almost. They look Dravidian. And then these guys right here, he looks like the new Arabic, like the new Arabic folks. And then this guy right here looks like he could be like a Moorish Arab, Berber Moor. But for those who don't know, there is a connection to the Dravidians and the Mayan peoples. Allegedly, the Dravidians come from the Maya, according to the Popol Vuh. That's another thing that I'm gonna have to get into. I mentioned the Popol Vuh in the last one. I gotta hurry up and do my breakdown of that one because the Popol Vuh is gonna make a lot of that stuff make sense as far as connections and migrations and where people come from where. Now, if the Dravidians or people of modern day India or ancient India, the Aboriginals of India do come from the Mayans, then the idea that the ancient Aboriginals in America here being Hebrews or Jews, it would just make so much more sense. These women are Cochin Jews, right? Cochin Jews. That's what they are. Who are the Cochin Jews? Well, let's just go see what it says. The Cochin Jews are the oldest group of Jews in India, with roots that are claimed to date back to the time of King Solomon. The Cochin Jews settled in the kingdom of Cochin in South India, now part of the present-day state of Kerala, as early as the 12th century. Mention is made of the Jews in southern India by Benjamin of Tudela. Following it from their expulsion in Iberia in 1492 by the Alhambra Decree, a few families of Sephardi Jews eventually made their way to Cochin in the 16th century. They became known as the Paradesi Jews or foreign Jews. The European Jews maintained some trade connections to Europe, and their language skills were useful. Although Sephardim spoke Ladino, Spanish, or Judeo-Spanish, in India they learned Judeo-Malayan from the Malabar Jews. So they different Jews all over the place. Two communities retained their ethnic and cultural distinction. In the late 19th century, a few Arabic-speaking Jews known as the Baghdadis also immigrated to southern India from the Near East. Big drop because it was also a lot of immigration from this Middle East area into West Africa. So a lot of people in West Africa, their ancestries could date them to go as far as back as the Middle East. Ain't this something though, right? Ain't this something? This is crazy. I'm not even gonna lie. Going into this Jew story, man. They displaced and they all over the world now. We all over the world. Our ancestors, not saying that we all Hebrews, we all Israelites, I don't even side with that as far as like religion goes. I just go with what could be true, the truth. I know who my ancestors are, what they look like, and where they come from. There's a lot of connections I can make between what they say about these Semitic people and my ancestors, right? Let's continue. We're gonna go back into the book. Let's finish diving back into this book, right? Let's go back into these connections, man. See what it say. In a Hebrew letter written by the Jews of Cochin to China to their brethren at Amsterdam, they give as the date of their retiring into India the period when the Romans conquered the Holy Land. So as we just read, when it said they migrated into India, they left because the Romans were conquering their holy land, their land, right? Which is why they just kept fleeing. It's the same thing for the Aboriginals over here. They just kept fleeing from place to place, right? What it says. It is clearly evident, therefore, that the tribes in their progress to a new and undiscovered country left many of their numbers in China and Tartary, and finally reached the Straits of the Bering Strait, Beringia, where no difficulty prevented their crossing to the northwest coast of America. However, they didn't cross across the Bering Straits. They came in boats. You dig? They came in boats. See, people don't understand. Like, there were more land masses that existed here in the Americas that they don't talk about in history, right? They don't talk about it in history. But let me show y'all. Let me just show y'all. All right, let me just show y'all. Let me show y'all something real quick. And I got a video dropping on this, man. But we got to understand, like, there were many different land masses here on this earth connecting these bodies of land, right, to one another. So, yeah, say that they could have crossed via Beringia, but it wouldn't make sense to come from all the way north to go down south and to come back north. That wouldn't make sense, right? And I'm talking coming from Alaska down through Canada, through North America, to Central America, and then back up here to North America. That wouldn't make no sense at all. And I'm pretty sure they would have thought about it the same way. Sunderland. What is Sunderland, right? They say Sunderland was exposed at least 2.6 million years ago when sea levels were a lot lower, right? But we already know what their geodating and whatever the case may be. A lot of these numbers be off. This is why they got to do research. In order for them to figure this out 100%, they would have had to go underwater and explore and like, you know, do experiments on the gravel, the seabed, or whatever it is that they do, use LiDAR or something. 2.6 million years ago is just an assumption, right? But Sunderland, this was the body of land that connected all of Southeast Asia. This is what connected all of Southeast Asia to one another, right? And even on the islands. And boats existed at these times. They were making boats. The canoes were 10 times as strong as the colonizers' boats, right? The reason why we ain't get to see it is because they already clocked and checked us out by then. They checked us out, right? They dominated the seas by that point. It wasn't really we wasn't really rocking and rolling at that time. So they already wiped a good number of our people out, right? But Sunderland, just another body of land. I mean, it's a body of land that connected other bodies of land. So, yeah, it could be conspiracy or just an idea that they came over the Bering Strait, but that don't mean it's true. That don't mean it's true. I can't dig that because the Choctaw and Chickasaw migration got them coming over here on a boat. That's if they wasn't already over here in the Americas, in the American world. Right? What it's saying. Yeah, finally reached the Straits of the Bering Straits, where no difficulty prevented their crossing to the northwest coast of America, a distance less than 30 miles interspersed with the Copper Islands, probably frozen over and reaching our continent, spread themselves in the course of 2,000 years to Cape Horn. To Cape Horn, right? The more hardy keeping to the north to Labrador, Hudson's Bay, and Greenland. the more cultivated, fixing their residence in the beautiful climate and rich possessions of Central America, Mexico, and Peru. Right? Why would they come all the way north though? Right? Why would they come from the Bering Strait and go all the way to Peru, the bottom of the south of South America, pretty much close to Patagonia, right? And come right back up north. That does not make sense, right? Those people who crossed over the Bering Straits, I'm gonna show y'all who these people are. These are who they call Native Americans today, right? But these people are not the Aboriginals that this author is referring to. They are not even the true Aboriginals here in America. Not even close. These are these guys. Make it make sense. Call me a liar if you want. Right? This is just an assumption for me. But people who live in caves, right? Just like how they build igloos and stuff like that. Living in caves, their features, the similarities, all too similar. All too similar. Right? So this is who they're referring to when they're talking about those guys. Right? More or less though. Those are the folks who came over the Bering Strait. Those are Native Americans. Those are not the copper-colored Aboriginals that they are trying to connect to the lost tribes, right? The people who came out of Central America, Mexico, and Peru, well, these were followers of the Great Serpent, Quetzalcoatl, Kukulkan, right? Followers of the Great Serpent, worshippers of one great spirit, the Most High, Yahweh, Yahshua HaMashiach, Yah. Right? That's why you got stuff like this over here in America. Back Creek Stone, Los Lunas Decalogue Stone. But like I said, though, in the last one, the Mountain Builders book, all it did was prove to me that you had many different peoples here in the Americas. Mad different peoples, white, brown, black, sun worshippers, serpent worshippers, cavemen, giants, Skraelings, midgets, mad different people, elves, real spell. It got it's man, listen, America got a history behind it that a lot of us wouldn't even believe just because of the world we see today. The world we see today will distract you from all of that because once upon a time, this land was a real life fairy tale, a real life Disney movie. Right? That's why Disney, they make movies like Atlantis, shit like that, right? I've been pointed that one out, but yeah. Let's continue, right? So it says, but it may be asked, could the scattered remnants of Israel have had the courage to penetrate through unknown regions and encounter the hardships and privations of an hospitable country? Talking about the north, where it was like icy and cold. Could they have had the fortitude, the decision, the power to venture on a derailing pilgrimage of 18 months? The time mentioned by Ezra as the period of their journey? Could they not? What obstacles had hitherto impeded their progress that had broken down their energy or impaired their constancy and fidelity? They knew that their brethren had severed the chains of Egyptian bondage, had crossed, and that's why we got to stop saying they're Egyptian. They're not the new Egyptian. They're not old Egyptian. They are no type of Egyptian. Ancient Aboriginals of America are no types of Egyptian. They are not Egyptian. Egyptian is a term created by Greek peoples. Egyptos, Egyptian. Egyptians probably didn't even go by Egyptian, right? That's a term that was created and given to these groups of people who conquered and dominated the land and took it away from the native inhabitants of this land. Right? For all we know, Egypt could have been here in America. Right? Right? Some people, you got to make it make sense. Right? Why do you have temples in the Grand Canyon? I spoke about this in my last live stream. Why do we have temples in the Grand Canyon? Why is there an Isis temple in the Grand Canyon? Right? Why is there a Isis temple? No one has been able to answer that question for me yet. I don't care what type of display they trying to put on over there. Why do you have a Isis temple in the Grand Canyon? Why is there a Cheops pyramid or a Shiva temple or a Buddha temple or a Tower of Set or a Horus temple or Osiris temple or a Vishnu temple or a Brahma temple or a Tower of Ra, Angel's Gate, Jupiter temple, the battleship? Why are these things all in the Grand Canyon? Apollo temple, these are names of gods. Right? According to these folklores and mythologies and legends, look, you click on Apollo temple, it brings you to Greece. Right? We even see a reference to AC Odyssey for those who played that game, right? But all of this is in Arizona. Right? Why is all of this here in Arizona? What are they getting at with that stuff right there, right? What is that stuff trying to portray? What can we gather from that information? I'm just saying that to say, man, for all we know, Egypt could have been here in America. Right? They knew that their brethren had severed the chains of Egyptian bondage, had crossed in safety the arm of the Red Sea, had sojourned for years in the wilderness, had encamped near Mount Sinai, and had possessed themselves of the Holy Land. They remembered the kingdoms of Judah and Israel, all of their glory. They had witnessed the erection of and destruction of their temple. They had fought and conquered the Medes, this Japhetic tribe. We saw that on their Japhetic family tree. It's the Japhetic tribe. They fought with the Assyrians, Shemitic people, the Persians, another group of Shemitic people, Greeks and Romans. These are mixes of different groups of people. Right? They fought with all five of these people. They had encountered, and by the way, all five of these people, a lot of their ways and methods still pertain till this day. Still this day. Till this day, a lot of those methods. Right? You know how like they say that the Babylonian eagle, right? The Babylonian eagle. Well, the Persia symbol was the lion and the sun. Right? Lion and the sun. And the symbols for Assyria is another symbol with the eagle. Red, white, and blue with the eagle. Right? Red, white, and blue with the eagle. Surrounded by a four-pointed star. What's the symbol of the Medes? I would show y'all this, but man, I don't want them to take me down, man. I ain't trying to get sniped from above. Death from above. But nah, I'll show y'all though. Now, this is the symbol of the Medes, right? You're gonna tell me I'm bugging, right? An eagle. The symbol of the Medes is an eagle. Japhetic nation, right? Persian Empire, the sun and the lion, right? And on the Medes, it's an eagle, right? What's the symbol for the Greeks? Or the Romans? For those who don't know this one already. An eagle. The eagle. Now, that eagle is a representation of power and dominance. That's what the eagle represents. It's a representation of power and dominance. So we see like peoples like the Medes, the Greeks and Romans having eagles in nature, right? Greeks and Romans being the same peoples. They got the eagle in nature, right? Our symbol was the serpent. So we fighting with the eagle. And that's why in a lot of symbols, right, in symbolism, you see the eagle killing the serpent in a lot of symbols, right? One that we're more famous with is on the Mexican coat of arms, right? Check this out. You would be saying I be bugging. I can't be bugging. Tell these niggas that be on they bullshit with the history. Tell them that they be bugging. This is on the Mexican coat of arms. The eagle killing the great serpent. They know what that serpent supposed to represent. They know. They not stupid. Old European culture, eagle snake struggle. They not stupid. They know what they trying to depict. It's just that we don't know what they trying to depict when they get doing all of that. Like the ending of an era. It's the end of an era, the ending of a people. This is a symbol of bondage. Bondage. Tribes being in bondage. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. I promise y'all. Let's go back into the book. All right, so what it say? They had encountered sufferings upon sufferings unmoved, had bowed their necks submissively to the yoke. Kings, conquerors, nations, Christians, Mohammedans, Christians and Muslims, and heathens, pagans, all had united in the design of destroying the nation, destroying the tribes. That eagle destroying the serpent. But they never despaired. They knew they were the elect and chosen of the Lord, right? And it brings us into their connection to the ancient Americans, right? So it says, on the discovery of America by Columbus and the discovery subsequent to his time, various tribes of Indians or savages was found to inhabit this, our continent, whose origin was unknown. They didn't know where they came from, right? They didn't know where the Aboriginals came from. It is perhaps difficult for the human mind to decide on the character and condition of an extreme savage state. We can readily believe that children abandoned in infancy in a savage country and surviving this abandonment that grow up in a state of nature, living on herbs and fruits, and sustaining existence as other wild animals would be stupid without language. However, they did have language. What was that language? Well, look something like this. And it just changed over time. It changed and changed and changed over time. Right? I say this to say because why else is this there? You say they don't have no language, then what else is that? Right? Hieroglyphs is a form of language, art, language, arts, communication. It depicts something. Why else is that there? Right? Also, uh, without intellect and with no greater instinct than which governs the brute creation, we can conceive nothing reduced to a more savage condition. With cannibal propensities, right? Not all Aboriginals over here were cannibals. These were the sun worshippers, y'all. Check out the Mound Builders episode. We speak about it, right? Speak about it. It's out there. Check out my Caribs, Cannibals, and Giants video. right? We talk about it. Not all tribes are cannibal. Cannibalism was not a full-blown thing practiced here in the Americas. It was just with some people and for different reasons. An ungovernable ferocity or a timid apprehension, there can be but a link that separates them from other classes of animal creation. So, with herds of men in a savage state, like herds of buffalo or wild horses on our prairies, they are kept together by sounds common amongst themselves and are utterly unacquainted with the landmarks of civilization. This, however, this, however, was not the condition of the American Indians when first discovered, right? They were not on no wild timing, cannibalism and savagery and all of that. Nah, that was not their condition. They were a singular race of men with enlarged views of life, religion, courage, constancy, humanity, policy, eloquence, love of their families, was a proud and gallant baron, fierce in war, and like the ancients. Oh, give us a second. This is buffering. All right, I got a lot going on in this bad boy. Man. We just be reading and reading and reading. Relentless in victory. Their hospitality might be quoted as examples among the most liberal of the present day. They were not wild men. They were not wild men like these cavemen, like the wild men of Europe. They were not wild men. They were not wild men. They were not cavemen. They were not Neanderthals. These were a different class from those found on the Sandwich and Fiji Islands. The red men of America, the Adam men of America, bearing as they do the strongest marks of Asiatic origin, have for more than 200 years and divided as they are in upwards of 300 different nations, been remarkable for their intellectual superiority, their bravery in war, their good faith in peace, told y'all, and I got more to back this up, and all the simplicity and virtues of their patriarchal fathers. Until civilization, as it is called, had rendered them familiar with all the vices which distinguish the present era, without being able to enforce any of the virtues which are the boast of our present enlightened times. It is, however, in the religious belief and ceremonies of the Indians that I propose some showing of the evidence of their being, as it is believed, the descendants of the dispersed tribes. This opinion is founded in one, their belief in one God, numero uno, the Great Spirit. Two, in the computation of time by their ceremonies of the new moon, right? Using the Fabusa. The Fabusa was like a compass. And the way they were able to find directions and routes and maps and stuff is they used it where the sun sets in the east. When it rises in the east and sets in the west, they used that theory using their pole staff. Their Fabusa was a compass. It was their cross. It guided them in times of holy need and when they needed spiritual guidance. Three, they divided the year in 4 seasons, answering to the Jewish festivals of the Feast of Flowers, the Day of Atonement, the Feast of the Tabernacle, and other religious holy days, right? One of them being the green corn ceremony, where they're giving thanks to the Most High for blessing them with an abundant land and healthy crops, right? That's the true Thanksgiving, the real Thanksgiving, what we should be celebrating, right? That's what we should be celebrating. Four, in the erection of a temple after the manner of our temple, and having an ark of the covenant, and also an erection of altars. Five, by the division of the nation into tribes, the chief or grand sachem at their head. That's exactly how they lived. They divided the nations into tribes. The Muskogee Nation was divided into tribes. and then separated by the European powers. That's how that went down. Right? What we got? By their laws of sacrifices, oblations, marriages, ceremonies in war and peace, the prohibitions of eating certain things, fully carrying out the Mosaic institutions, right? They didn't believe in eating raw meat, by the way. Raw flesh, they didn't believe in that. None of that savage. By their traditions, history, character, appearance, affinity of their language to the Hebrew. Remember, Hebrew is a language. And finally, by that everlasting covenant of heirship exhibited in a perpetual transmission of its seal in their flesh. If I shall be able to satisfy your doubts and curiosity on these points, you will certainly rejoice with me in discovering that the dispersed of the chosen people are not the lost ones, that the promises held out to them have been thus far realized, and that all the prophecies relative to their future destination will in due time be strictly fulfilled. All right, let's continue. We're gonna get into some fire, right? I'm sorry for being so late with it tonight. I know most folks probably want to go to bed by now, right? 2 o'clock in the morning. So we're gonna wrap this up and continue it, tomorrow during the day. But let's just get into a couple more parts, right? Now, one part I want to show y'all, right, is this right here, right? It says all the missionaries and travelers among the Indian tribes since the discovery of America, James Adair, Heck Welder, Charvelox, Mackenzie, Bartrand, Beltrami, Smith, and William Penn, assuming Mr. Simon, who has written a very interesting work on the subject and have expressed opinions in favor of their being of Jewish origin. The difficulty, however, under which they all labored was simply this. They were familiar with the religious rites, ceremonies, traditions, and belief of the Indians, but they were not sufficiently conversant with the Jewish rites and ceremonies to show the analogy. Right, because like Cuz said, this wasn't something that they wrote about or made books about. This was their way of life. They lived what these people write about. They lived it because it was true to them. This is how they stayed true. Right? It has been said that the Indians believing in one great spirit and a fountain of life, like the Jew, does not prove their descent, right, from the missing tribes, because in savage state, their very ignorance and superstition led them to confide in the works of some divine superior being. However, savages are apt to be idolaters, impersonate the deity by some carved figure or image to whom they paid their adoration, and not like the Indians, having a clear and definite idea of the one great ruler of the universe. Here we go, got more proof claiming that whoever is using idolatry and paganism or sun worship or whatever it is, they are not Indians, right? They can be Native Americans. They can even be Eskimo or whatever, but they are not Aboriginals. Right? Aboriginals have a clear and definite idea of one great ruler of the universe, one great spirit whose attributes are as well known to them as to us. But if the continued unerring worship of one God like the Jews proved nothing, where did they acquire the same Hebrew name and appellation of that deity? Where did it come from? Where did Yahweh come from? If tradition had not handed down to them the ineffable name as also preserved by the Jews, how did they acquire it in a wilderness where the word of the Lord was never known? Boom. Ancient America, the true old world. That's how. Because they were using this word years and years and years before it ever even found its way to the east. Yehovah. It was taught to them by their ancestors, those who came before them. Right? Adair, in whom I respond in great confidence, who resided 40 years among them in his work published in 1775, Adair being James Adair, says the ancient heathens worshipped a plurality of gods, but these Indians pay their devour to Aloak, a light, Ishtahula Abba, distinctively Hebrew, which means the great supreme beneficent Holy Spirit of fire who resides above. Woo! Cooking, cooking. And when they talking about these Indians, they talking about like the South and the Northeastern tribes. They talking about those folks. Of course, we're gonna keep giving out those drops. We're gonna keep putting out that fire because that's what this is about. That's what this is all about, right? Uh, but it says, they are, says it there, utter strangers to all the gestures past practiced by the pagans in their religious rites. They kiss no idols, nor would they kiss their hands in tokens of reverence or willing obedience, meaning they do not conform to slavery or worshiping any other living being. Right? You know how like how the Pope make people kiss him or bow to him? Yeah, these folks wasn't on that. They wasn't on that. Right? That's what they saying. They saying they were different. They didn't live like that. Right? That's the claim that they make. Right? These tribes, says Adair, so far from being atheists, use the great and dreadful name of God, which describes his divine essence, and by which he manifested himself to Moshe, right? The great serpent bearer, the bearer of the great staff, the serpent staff, like I showed y'all in the first one, and are firmly persuaded that they now live under the immediate government of the Almighty Ruler. Their appellative for God is Ishtu Hulu, the Hebrew of Ishis, from Ishto, great, but they have another appellative, which with them, as with us, is the mysterious essential name of God, which they never mention in common speech, and only when performing their most sacred religious rites. And then they most solemnly divide it in syllables with intermediate words, so as not to pronounce the ineffable name at once. Thus, in their sacred dances at their feast of the first fruits, they sing Alleluia and Messiah, Messiah, from the Hebrew of Messiah, Messiah, the anointed one, Yo Messiah, He Messiah, Wa Messiah, Yo He Wa, Yehovah, Yehovah, thus making the Alleluia, the Messiah, the Yehovah, the Yahweh, the Most High, right? Big drop, big drop. Let's just give a hand clap to those people, the Aboriginals, the ancient Aboriginals, right? Can we for a moment believe that these sacred, well-known Hebrew words found their way by accident to the wilderness? Sorry, y'all. To the wilderness. Or can it be doubted that, like the fire of the burning bush, which is never extinguished, those words of religious adoration are the sacred relics of tradition, handed down to them from generation to generation? Handed down to them from generation to generation. In the same manner, says Adair, they sing on certain other religious celebrations. Alio, Alio, which is the Hebrew El for God, Eli, Elohim, Elohim, Adonai, Elohim, which is the Hebrew El for God, by his attribute of omnipotence. They likewise sing Hewa, Hewa, Heshaya, the immortal soul. Those words sung at their religious rejoicings are never uttered at any other time, which must have occasioned the loss of their divine hymns. And it's so funny because they make a joke out of this stuff, right? When we kids, it's always in the cartoons. I remember seeing it in the Popeye cartoon when they making a joke about Chief Ugamug. And then the theme song is always oh hiya 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 hiya. But we would never understand like what are they saying? What are they getting at when they talking like that? Like what are they saying when they start doing all of that? Right? Now we know. Hey wa Yahweh Yehovah. Hey wa hey wa. Right? Those words sung at their religious rejoicings are never uttered at any other time, which most have occasioned the loss of their divine hymns. They on some occasions sing Shiloh, Shiloh, wait, Shiloh, 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 Shiloh. The three terminations make up in their order the four-letter divine name in Hebrew. Shiloh is evidently Shaleich, Shaleich, Shiloth, the messenger, the peacemaker. The number of Hebrew words used in their religious services is incredible. Thus, in chiding anyone for levity during a solemn worship, they say, Che Hakit Kana, you resemble those reproved in Canaan. And to convey the idea of criminality, they say, Hakset Kana, the sinners of Canaan. Big drop. Big drop. So here we see them using in their language. They say, like they said, they say these people is savages, they don't got no language, but here we see in their language making references to Canaan, the sinners of Canaan, to Yahweh, the dancing, the Haiwa, Haiwa, when they doing the dancing, that's a tribute. That's a tribute. That's a tribute. Right, man? It's late, so I'm not gonna continue to go crazy with this one, man. Like I'm gonna pick this up on in another one. Just remember we left off on page 12, right? We about to talk about the medicine men, the Fabusas, the role and representation of those things. But before we even get into that, right? Before we even get into that, right? I wanted to go back into the history of the Choctaw, Chickasaw, and the Natchez. And I want to just revisit that real quick, right? Because there's some things in that book, like I said, that put a lot of this stuff here into perspective. So just give me a minute and let me pull that up. We're gonna get into it. All right, so what I got for y'all here, man, I'm gonna go into this history of the Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Natchez real quick. We're gonna go back into this Israelite and Indians text. But I just want to we got to make all of this come full circle, y'all, so that we all understand exactly what's going on here. right? So, look, go back to the top, right? Right? They talking about the traditions, the ancient traditions of the Choctaws, the Chickasaws, and the Natchez. In this book, they say, right, many attribute to the Indians, talking about the Choctaw and the Chickasaw, a Jewish origin, and not without some seemingly plausible reason. James Adair, a man, it is recorded of fine erudition and who lived more than 30 years among the ancestors of the present Chickasaws, was often among the ancient Choctaws, Cherokees, and Muskogees, and thus became familiar with the customs and habits of these southern Indians. He said, the American Indians in 1775, he was well versed. I mean, he wrote a book called The American Indians in 1775. He was well versed in the Hebrew language, and in his long residence with the Indians acquired an accurate knowledge of their tongue, and he devoted the larger portion of his work to prove that the Indians were originally Hebrews. He asserts that the Buskatus, the ceremony of initiating youth to manhood amongst the ancient Muskogee and other tribes, the warriors danced around the fire during which the elder priests invoked the Great Spirit, while they responded, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, and Hallelujah, right? Furthermore, right, they say they often heard the Choctaws, when engaged in their ancient dances in their former homes east of the Mississippi River, utter in concert and solemn tone of the voice of Yavoha, Yavo Yaha, and when asked its signification, replied, it is the name of the great spirit we worship. Oh, killer. Come on, man. We could sit here and draw these connections all day. We could connect these dots all day. All day. Like I said, man, we find their origin story having them coming out of East Asia. Right, look, the Indians of this continent openly acknowledged, sincerely believed in the one great spirit and good spirit, and in the one great spirit and evil spirit. Right? So they had a belief in the devil and God, basically. Right? The origin story. We covered this. What it say? The Choctaws derived from two brothers, Chickasaw and Choctaw, and they derived from two tribes, Chocomocquas and Chicamequas, both coming from Central America. Both left Central America because of the Spaniards, right? These Spaniards, these eagle bearers, right? These eagle bearers, these dominant men from Europe who just came to dominate and conquer. Right? They fled because of them. They fled. That's what we know about the tribes. They flee. They're constantly being misplaced and lost, right? Hence the tribes. That's why when we're talking about the tribes, the lost tribes of the 12 lost tribes of Israel, we got to remember when you're looking at history and you're trying to decide where these people may be at or where they come from, you got to think about the folks who lost majority of their history, or whole majority of their history was rewritten. And a lot of that goes for the Black Moors and the copper-colored Aboriginals here in America, because we are the ones who don't know our history. We don't have no special ties or special links to where we come from. We are forever kept and left in the dark. And in my opinion, it's not okay. That's why research is extremely important. That's why doing this research is extremely important. You gotta connect the dots. You gotta tap into true ways of life, true ways of living, the way the Most High wants us to live. Do your research. There's a lot behind it. You're gonna pick up on this bad book. Make sure you tap into part one. We had to split it up because they took us off the airwaves, man. They were hating tonight. It was hating. They took us off the airwaves because they know we was about to start pulling them cards. Really smoking it. Smoking shit. Airing shit out. That's what we do, man. It's a Copper Color King, man. Make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel. Y'all subscribe to the Morals and Money platform for creators. Y'all subscribe and follow on Instagram, TikTok, all platforms, man. We do this every weekend. Every weekend we do this. So if you want to learn more about your family history or just ancestry or history in general, American history, world history, tap in with your boy, the Copper Color King, man. As I learn, we all gonna learn together. Right? This is gonna be like a revolving door. Each one teach one. I bask in receiving knowledge and obtaining knowledge from other people. And I retain it too. You can tell me something and I'll remember it 6 years later. I promise you. Right? Like I said, man, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Copper Color King, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, click that notification bell. Stay up to date on all content, man. Stay plugged in like an extension code. Stay in tune for the next one, man. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll try to get this one earlier, man. I love y'all. Thank you for tuning in.